Go inside the huddle with Sky Sports.
Yes, hello, welcome to Inside the Huddle. We are back. We were last seen together in the Superdome after Philadelphia's win over Kansas City in Super Bowl 59, joined by Jeff Reinebold, Phoebe Schecter. I'm your host, Neil Reynolds, and it's draft week. So we have to reconvene because the draft will be taking place in historic Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin, April 24th to 26th. And Jeff, this is always a time of great hope.
It is. And, maybe next to the Super Bowl, it's the biggest time in the National Football League calendar. A calendar that now runs just nonstop all 12 months of the year. And the draft is certainly the NFL showcase. And, Neil, I think what a great location to be at Lambeau Field on Vince Lombardi Way, the whole deal.
Phoebe, this is last year we had 6 quarterbacks in the first 12 picks. There's lots of wheeling and dealing. This year, bizarrely, it's the first time in 11 years all 32 teams at the moment hold their original pick. But we know just by the nature of the draft, there's going to be drama come Thursday night, come Friday night, isn't there?
You're so right. I mean, that's what we love about this is we can make all the predictions and put together whatever draft boards that we want. But when it comes down to it, when you're in that moment and you think someone might be getting the guy that you want, you'll be doing whatever it takes. And that's what's so cool. Is all this is going on, the kind of mayhem in the war room with people calling other teams and seeing what's going on and seeing who potentially might take this player. I mean, the tactics that are involved in the buildup to these couple of nights is just incredible. The real science that goes into it.
And you can follow it all on Sky Sports Action. Let me give you the times and channels. So Thursday night into Friday morning from 1 a.m. Will be round 1 on Sky Sports Action. Day 2, Friday from midnight, Sky Sports Action. That's rounds 2 and 3. And rounds 4 through 7, day 3, Saturday, 5 p.m., Sky Sports Action. So all of your draft coverage, you won't miss a single pick. And just think about the draft. It's when you step back, we're very into it and we live in that circle. When you step back, Jeff, you realize the power of the NFL. This is a man in a suit standing at a podium reading out names for 4.5 hours. And it's one of the biggest sporting events on the calendar. It will outrank the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs. It's incredible.
It is a testimony to just how big football has become internationally. It's not just in the United States. It's all over the world. People will be glued to their TV sets, as Phoebe just said, watching all this drama take place, in real time. I mean, this is the best reality show going, the NFL draft.
I mean, I remember last year when Will Levis, the year before when Will Levis was getting drafted, I mean, he thought he was going to go in that first round, and that awkward hanging around, waiting till the next day when he never thought it would be the case, right? I mean, some people think they're going to be drafted high, and then a team sees them and thinks, oh, let's see what trades we can do. I mean, it's unpredictable all of the time, and that's what's so exciting about this.
They are like lottery tickets, these draft picks. There are 9 teams in this draft who have at least 10 picks. San Francisco and Baltimore lead the way with 11 each. 3 teams better make the most of it. They have 5 or fewer. Minnesota have just 4. Atlanta and Washington have just 5. And keep an eye on the Chicago Bears. They are the only team with 3 picks in the top 50, so they can make an impact early. Of course, they're Caleb Williams, first overall last year. Jeff, the wheeling and dealing is something that hasn't happened yet. Is that because this is maybe not as headliner-filled draft as last year? Today we're going to concentrate on offense. Later in the week, we'll do the defensive players to look out for. Is this still a star-studded draft, or is it a bit more functional?
Well, I think, everybody's going to go to quarterback number 1, and that's where you should go because it's the most important position in the game. It's the position that, generates the most publicity. That guy has to play the best for you to have a championship season. There are a number of teams that are quarterback needy. The fact of the matter is there are really only 3 guys, and, you can see as few as 2 going in the first round. but there are three guys, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, and Jackson Dart, who are basically consensus first-round graded quarterbacks. Jalen Milroe, who will be in the green room, and we've had some drama in the green room. Aaron Rodgers with his, fall all the way, 20-some spots in the green room. Warren Sapp falling from maybe the first pick to the 21st pick in the draft in the green room. And the camera zooms right in on him. So Jalen Milroe is in the green room, and I can't find anybody, and I mean, Neil, anybody I know in football that I've talked to that can put a first-round quarterback grade on Jalen Milroe. First-round athlete, yes. First-round quarterback, no. But he's going to be in the green room. So there is something up, and I'm sure the intrigue will only get deeper and deeper as we get closer. Those, as Phoebe said, they will be manning the phones the entire 3 days leading up to the draft, and then right until you're on the clock, they're going to, they're taking calls, trying to move up, move down, find a guy that can make their team a better football team.
Well, we'll start with quarterbacks, but before we get to the quarterbacks in this draft, obviously there have been some free agent moves across that position in recent weeks since we were last together. The last domino to fall remains Aaron Rodgers, who's been visiting with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Phoebe, Aaron Rodgers does not care what he says in public anymore. He will put it all out there. He is at a stage of his career where he is going to control his narrative. An appearance last week on the Pat McAfee show where he talks about flying across the country to meet the New York Jets. The meeting he thought was going to last several hours lasted maybe 15 seconds, he said. Aaron Glenn didn't want Aaron Rodgers in the building. He said he didn't want people looking at Rodgers when Aaron Glenn was addressing the team. And Rodgers has come out and told the world this stuff that went on behind closed doors. Give me your thoughts on that first, and maybe where Rodgers might land up we can get to. But Rodgers spilling the beans again. What do you think, Phoebe?
Oh, man, he can't help himself. I mean, he wants to be the star of the show. Wherever he goes, the news has got to be around him. I mean, he came out with his own Netflix show. I mean, that if that doesn't say enough about the man, I don't know what else. He said, you guys have quarterback. Well, I'm going to have a show just about me. And this makes perfect sense for him. This is a great fit in terms of him coming out and saying all of this, because you're right. Aaron Glenn, he's a new head coach here. He's got to make sure that the focus is not on the distraction. But Aaron Rodgers coming out and saying this, I mean, it really, I would have thought, because I know there's a lot of conversation around him going to the Steelers with Mike Tomlin, and Aaron Glenn is another one of those coaches who I actually think could have managed Aaron Rodgers a little bit, because that's what he needs. He needs somebody who's not afraid of him, who's going to put his foot down and make sure that he's not the distraction within that building. But for him to just come right out, for me, it's just unprofessional at the end of the day. And it's almost like we're on this soapbox with him, and the Pat McAfee show is his platform to tell the world about what's going on in his own hard knocks life, essentially.
Well, Jeffrey, that point that Phoebe makes is a factor now when you think about signing Aaron Rodgers, because no one's really, especially in the media, talking about, well, actually, Rodgers played pretty well second half of last season. He looked pretty good still with the Jets. It's about this other stuff. And there must be conversations that you have with players behind closed doors where you'd be horrified if the first thing they did was go out and tell the media every bit of how that went down. He was verbatim, word for word, telling the world what Aaron Glenn told him.
Yeah, I mean, and I think if Aaron Rodgers is going to play next year, it's going to be Pittsburgh, right? And I know that he's starting to wear his welcome out in Pittsburgh amongst some of his teammates that are saying, we'll make a decision, right? If you want to be a Steeler, be a Steeler. Mike Tomlin has got to be standing back watching all of this unfold, and how Aaron Glenn, he went after Aaron Glenn publicly, right? As you guys mentioned. Now, the spinoff of that whole thing is Aaron Glenn has really bolstered a lot of support amongst Jets fans and they're all saying that's what should have happened with Robert Saleh. And Robert Saleh should have put his foot down when Aaron Rodgers came in the building and said, hey, I'm the head coach. You're the quarterback. You're not the general manager. You're not the head coach and quarterback. You are the quarterback. And, there's only one sheriff in this town. Didn't do it, paid the price for it, lost his job. The Jets had a what would you say, uneven Aaron Rodgers experience. And, I think Mike Tomlin's got to sit back and look at this and go, okay, now this guy's going to be a full-time job. And I agree with Phoebe. I think it's one of those things where you better put a line in the sand real early and let him know what his role is going to be. And I think you can do that without alienating the player. But Neil, you know him better than anybody because you've dealt with him more than any of us. And he can be high maintenance, if you would you like to say it?
That feels like a nice thing. I was going to say, yes, I think particular and high maintenance is probably a great way, as Neil is one of the very few people that it's on his list allowed to interview him. And I think, you're so right, Jeff, but if this wasn't Aaron Rodgers, it would never even be a conversation. This would never even carry on to the level that it has. He would just be done with, because better than anyone, Jeff, if you have essentially a cancerous player in your organization, you're better off getting rid than keeping that on, because it can be negatively impact the locker room.
That's the problem, though, because these coaches are going to see a surefire Hall of Famer who did actually play pretty well last year and has the pedigree of being 4 or 5-time NFL MVP. He's a Super Bowl champion. And the Steelers, Jeff, if they're not going to get one this week, they need a quarterback. They haven't found the answer at quarterback since Big Ben retired, and Big Ben wasn't the answer for the last couple of years he was there either. So they may not be able to help themselves. They may just say, well, okay, we'll have to take all of that stuff. It is what it is, and we'll play on Sundays.
Well, and Mike Tomlin, let's be honest about it. Mike Tomlin is now on the second half of his career, and it's been a long time since he won a Super Bowl, and they've been one and done in the playoffs for a number of years now. This all is going to affect his legacy. And don't think that isn't lost on Mike Tomlin, and I think the entire Steeler organization. I think the Steelers have been exceptionally professional about this and, kind of step back away from it, which is kind of the way the Rooney family does business. But I just think that at some point very, very soon, it's time to fish or cut bait, in or out.
Well, it's going to all fall into place this week, surely, with the draft picks, whether they take a quarterback. If not, they're left with Rodgers. It's all going to come to a head by Saturday evening for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I believe. So let's talk about the quarterbacks in this draft then. Phoebe, let's start with Cam Ward. The poorly kept secret, he's going to be the first overall pick to the Tennessee Titans. Seen him compared to Jordan Love. He's got a kind of gambling, freewheeling style. Is he first overall pick caliber as a player?
I think if you're looking at who normally goes first overall, it's going to be a quarterback, right? And so if you're looking at the draft class, you said it, Jeff said it, it's a very funny first top 10. It's not what we normally see. And I think he is the perfect fit for Tennessee because they need a quarterback. That's already what you need, urgency at that position. But he's an outstanding quarterback. He's kind of got this thick, compact set, really great, quick hands. If you're looking at what Tennessee wants, they want to have somebody who is going to be coachable, going to listen and learn off of the mistakes, which didn't really happen with Will Levis the past couple of years, essentially. Great in the RPO game. So I think he's going to be a really nice fit for them. And of course, my Ring doorbell goes. Why would it not?
Good luck. We're waiting for delivery, actually, and we're playing the delivery roulette here. And
what else can it be? We got it all.
She got the delivery first. Jeff, I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but I did read with interest. Pro Football Focus said that Cam Ward had the mentality to become an all-pro if his fundamentals don't bump him out of the league altogether. That is a wide old radius.
Yeah, and I think there is an awful lot of sentiment that way. I think he is amongst the quarterbacks in this draft, and this is not a good quarterback draft. He is the best. Now, he's an amazing story, Neil. Think about this. This kid is a high school player in Texas, does not get recruited. 0 stars, not one. Goes to the University of the Incarnate Word. Yes, I said the University of the Incarnate Word.
The only reason I know that school, for years, Larry Kennan was the head coach there, and he was the head coach of the London Monarchs.
That's exactly right. Well, this kid has no place to go, goes to Incarnate Word, tears it up, throws 38 touchdown passes, I think. Then he portals to Washington State. And that's where I first saw him on tape. And I thought this guy's dynamic. But he also will throw the ball across the field, across his body. He'll do some things that, it's just waiting to catch up with them. And, as you move up the ladder in football and you play against better players and better players, this from, having a son who's a quarterback, that, your margin of error gets very, very tight. And now you're playing against the best of the best. How much of that is going to translate to the NFL, we'll see. Now, Phoebe does make a great point about the kid has the athletic tools. And Jordan Love, I think, is a good player comp. And Jordan Love at times, right, particularly when he was his first year, could be an up and down merry-go-round ride. So I think that it's going to be interesting to see. I think he is, without a shadow of a doubt, the best of the three quarterbacks on my board that I had graded as first-round guys.
Shedeur Sanders from Colorado is a really interesting one. Obviously, so much attention because son of Hall of Famer Deion Sanders, who's the head coach at Colorado, could go top 3, could end up with the New York Giants, 3rd overall, could go 19th or so to Pittsburgh. Again, Pro Football Focus, Phoebe, rate him as the 45th best player in this draft, but the value is going to push him way up. What do you like about his game? What are his strengths?
I think really he's very calm, right? You look at the fact that obviously his dad has been a player in the league, and I think there's that when you see a lot of these coaches' sons, you think Jalen Hurts, guys like that who have grown up around it, their football IQ is just so much higher than most people. And so I feel like when you watch him in the pocket, he's got a super calm demeanor, nice rhythm to him, and he's got incredible accuracy. And so I think those parts are really key. But to your point, because it's such a small quarterback pool, he's going to go much higher than what he would actually fall under, because we've got so many other skills positions that would definitely sit above him. And so I think that's what makes him such an interesting prospect is you've also, like you said, you've got the noise around him, his dad, again, who has been kind of peddling him to everyone. And, the Cowboys talking about him earlier on in the off season and the synergies there. And of course the Giants now, I just think you need to be able to calm the noise. Just look at the skill sets he had. I mean, he only had 10 interceptions this past season. So that's a key point for him looking from the quarterback perspective. But yeah, I don't rate him as the highest guy. I know even Jason and you and I were talking about that Jace had him in top 10, going top 10 because he's a quarterback, but not because he's the best athlete out there.
Right. He had 151 offensive touchdowns in 4 years of college football, which also included Jackson State. Jeff, he's only been coached by Deion Sanders since Pop Warner. Now, in all your years of coaching college football, CFL, you will have heard of helicopter parents. Right? They hover around. They're always around. They get involved. Is it an issue at all or is it so we've talked about the positives there of being a coach's son. He's been around the game. He does things the right way. He plays a clean game. He's tough. He takes care of the ball. He's mature. But he's only been coached by one man since he was a little boy. And that man is going to be on the scene. Is that a factor?
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Because, you look at everything when you're talking about drafting in the first round. You're going to go through it. Shedeur Sanders has spotless character. Shedeur Sanders has been, you're going to get a guy who's used to the spotlight. You're going to get a guy that's not going to be too big for it. But you're also going to get Deion. And this is the same guy who earlier in the year had said, I'm going to tell the NFL where my son's going to play. Well, Deion, as big a star as you are, and you're one of the biggest stars in the galaxy, you don't choose where your son gets to play. It doesn't work that way. And I think obviously Deion knows that, but again, it's his insatiable desire to be front and center. And you're going to get Deion when you get Shedeur. And I think there are teams that frankly look at this quarterback class and go, nah, I don't, that is a factor in our decision. Right. And he has already, on most of the boards and most of the people that I consider good football people, he's slid, right? And some people are saying out of the first round if certain things don't happen for him. I think that's really a shame. And I think that that's probably because of all of we just got done talking about Aaron Rodgers and the media split that is Aaron Rodgers, right? Do you want to take on all of that in addition to a guy who, frankly, when you watch him play quarterback, he has been sacked an unbelievable amount of times. He's not a great athlete in the pocket. He's a good athlete in the pocket. When you watch him, and again, he's had an NFL offensive coordinator, former NFL head coach as his offensive coordinator at Colorado. And he's taken as many sacks as any quarterback in the country. There's a reason for that. Part of it is he holds the ball trying to make big plays. You will learn very quickly, Padawan, when you get up there with those guys, you better get that thing out of your hands, right? And secondly, when you watch it, it's like some of it is his inability to see where the rush is coming from, right? And so and then there's a little bit of a scheme issue involved in Colorado. They're not great on the offensive line. Here's a quarterback that you want to be a championship quarterback. You want a championship quarterback pedigree. He's 12-10 as a starter at Colorado. 12-10. Right? So when you strip back all of it and you really look, like these guys are paid to look. I'm talking about the general managers, the area scouts, the regional scouts, the coaches, everybody that has say in all of this. There's an awful lot of things that make you go, I love the kid. I think he's a great kid. I think what he's been able to do with all of the circus that's around him every day is really phenomenal. But I also understand the clubs and why you would have some concerns.
I want to just touch on the other two potential first rounders quickly, and I want to get to these other positions, so we'll move on. Jackson Dart from Ole Miss could be round one into round two. Jeff, just back to you just quickly. Jalen Milroe has been described from Alabama as the most electrifying college football runner since Lamar Jackson. But everything you see, like you say, is round 2 or 3. But he's one of the 17 players going to the draft. Could someone roll the dice and say, well, this is what you need in today's NFL? Is there going to be an attraction? Could Jalen Milroe be the surprise quarterback in round 1?
Well, I think that there's a lot of intrigue about that, Neil. This is one of those smoking gun deals. Because when I heard that Jalen Milroe was going, there's only 17 guys that are going to be in the green room. 17. There's 32 first-round picks. There's only 17 guys in that green room. Shedeur Sanders not going to be in the green room by his own choice. But they asked Jalen Milroe if he wanted to go, and he chose to go. Now, like I said, I've tried to find anybody who has a first-round grade on it, and I can't find anybody who has a first-round grade. He is far and away the best athlete in this draft at the quarterback position. Yeah, I don't think there's any question that people see that. Would somebody jump up into the first to take a flyer on a guy who doesn't have a first-round grade? Hey, stranger things have happened, right? We talked about, Phoebe made a great point about Will Levis, right? And what was the Will Levis experience in Tennessee, right? They're looking, that's why they're going to draft Cam Ward. So this is an interesting one. And I think that if you're a conspiracy theorist, what you're going to say is he's there because somebody is going to, have that lightning bolt and say, with the first pick in the first round, the whoever ever take Jalen Milroe, quarterback, Alabama, and here we go. We have an NFL moment. I mean, it's
exactly. We have one of those draft night moments. Let's move on to some of the other offensive players. I want to look at receivers and tight ends. And obviously, the Heisman Trophy winning wide receiver from Colorado, Travis Hunter. Phoebe had 171 career receptions, also 9 interceptions. He's a full-time starter on offense and on defense as a cornerback. He insists he's going to play both ways in the pros. The Cleveland Browns are eyeing him strongly at number 2. Can he do that? Or is he just going to play one position with maybe 10 snaps somewhere else?
It feels more realistic if they're even going to let him do both. is you have one set position and then you might get some snaps at something else. But then you have to have the conversation. Is he better at DB than everybody else or better at receiver than everybody else? And I think the NFL is a different level. You get way more time with your guys, and the specificity of everything, the scheme, it's a lot more technical. The players are running much faster, right? So all these different elements come into play. Whereas as an NFL team, you probably want to have him at his best in one position there where he's dominating, and then let the others do what they're great at as well.
Is he a receiver who gives you 10 snaps at corner, Jeff, or is he a full-time cornerback who you use in certain situations as a wide receiver?
Lot of talk about this topic, right? The Browns general manager came out this week and said he likes him as a receiver first and spot play him on defense. I've heard football guys, Bucky Brooks being one, and who's been a great friend of ours and on the show. Bucky believes, no, you go the other way. Let him play defense, which is a more instinctive position, right? And then have a small package for him offensively, because Phoebe hit it right on the head when you talk about the complexity of the information, the amount that he's going to have to take on, right? Am I hot in this route? What's my conversion against middle close? What's my conversion against middle open? All of that stuff. Receivers, that's why a lot of young receivers struggle, is because the complexity of the game is so different. The coverages, they're going to put in 30 coverages the first day in training camp. Well, you're going to have to learn them as a defensive player. Then you're going to have to learn them as an offensive player. That's a lot of work on a young kid. Now, the good thing about Travis is he's very smart. Right. He's almost a 4.0 student in Colorado. He's very smart. So there's no question if anybody can do it, he can do it. He wants to do it. My concern, Neil, is where nobody's looking right now, is he weighs 188 pounds. He's 6 feet, 188 pounds. It's an 18-game schedule, right? You played 12 in college, right? It's a meat grinder. You can only have them for 4.5 hours during the day in college. It's 8 hours a day in the NFL. It's a different thing.
And I think you can survive with that. Look at Devontae Smith. He's done that, but you probably can't play both ways then. And I know people say, well, Dion played both ways. Dion, he didn't play both ways full time. The last full-time both ways player was Chuck Bednarik in 1960. It's been a while for a reason. So I think he's going to decide.
June Jones told me that June was the offensive coordinator at Atlanta when he asked Jerry Glanville, he said, give me him. I just want to have him run a flat route, right? And he ran the flat route. They threw it to him. He scored a touchdown, but that was his package, right? He was not going. He wasn't out there. This kid. Here's the other thing. Think about this now. We talk about wear and tear on your body. This kid has for 4 years played almost every down of every game in his college career, right? That's 8 seasons. That's like, and you always want to be younger, right? They say, oh, you get the young bodies because, this game takes such a toll on your bodies. This kid's been doing it now for 4 years. I just can't see, for the longevity of his career. Take a first rounder, you want a gold jacket guy. You want a guy that's going to play 10 years. Well, this kid's already played 8 seasons.
Passing game targets wise, we've had some really good wide receivers coming in recent years. Phoebe, is it fair to say that the tight ends lead that outside of Travis Hunter? Colston Loveland from Michigan has been compared to Sam Laporta, big wide receiver type, and then maybe a more traditional tight end, Tyler Warren from Penn State. Are they a couple to look out for?
Absolutely. I mean, both these guys, their ability to track the football has been phenomenal. Colston, his big play ability, you watch a guy like that. I mean, and he's someone that he's exciting to watch because you see him go for the ball in like a mosh pit of people and he's going to come down with it. I think that's what makes him such a fun guy. And you're right, Tyler Warren as well. His tenacity, his ability to kind of high point the ball and tracking. I think we're finding so much more with these tight ends. They have a lot more receiver ability. The tight end position is truly changing over the years. Yes, you'll still have your kind of traditional Y blocking style, but these guys could do that and they can go downfield and make those big plays. So I think he's been really exciting. Harry Fenton as well, another one, an Ohio guy. He's been great and interesting to watch because he was a safety, moved over to tight end. I love to see kind of players that have done both sides of the ball and their understanding of the defensive court coverage, their football IQ.
Who's the best wide receiver, Jeff?
I think there's a kid at Texas that, I love him. I really love him. Now, Federero McMillan is a lot of people have him as the second highest guy on the board. And I love his size and his jump ball ability and red zone target ability and all that. But when I watch him go against Presnio, he struggles. He's a long-bodied guy that is a 4'5" guy, which Emmanuel Sanders was 4'5" too at the combine. But you got to have the ability to have short burst quickness, which I don't see out of him. And I think that's the one that, if I would be careful of if it was me at receiver. Going to give you a name that I love. And he's not a guy that's, comes to the top of the board, but I think people really have started to take a look at him. His name's Luther Burden out of Missouri. And he is electric with the ball in his hands. Once he catches the ball in space, forget about it, because he led all of FBS in yardage after the catch this year and was really amazing at Missouri.
See, Jeff, you're educating us. So when I go on Sky Sports News on draft day, I'm going to say to everyone, do you know what? Look out for Luther Burden. This bit of guy I've just scouted.
I'm serious. I'm telling you, he is electric. I mean, Neil, one of those guys that, what defensive coaches, the guy catches a hitch route and everybody on the sideline starts to pucker because he's
obviously Saquon Barkley last year. Well, I think across the league, we're seeing the running back become more and more important, taking center stage again. And Phoebe, that could happen in the top 10 of this draft with Ashton Genty from Boise State. He's been described as one of the top 3 or 4 players in the draft. So in 2024, he rushed for 2,601 yards and 29 touchdowns. That yardage total is the second most in college football history behind the great Barry Sanders. So do we have a generational talent here who could hear his name called early on Thursday night?
I completely think so. I mean, there are 9 running backs predicted for the top 100. I mean, that's quite unheard of considering last year we were talking about how people weren't wanting to pay running backs anything. And look how tides have turned. But you're right, Ashton Genty was breaking records all season long. I mean, he had 5+ 70-yard touchdowns, 12+ 50-yard plays. I mean, he's explosive. He's such a humble guy, military kid, played and lived in Naples, Italy, which I think is just phenomenal. And just his ability, he's compact, his contact balance, and then his ability to kind of just take off. He's so physical. I mean, I think he's definitely been the star of the show in terms of people watching in this offseason leading up to the draft.
He's been compared to LaDainian Tomlinson, the Hall of Famer. Jeff, will he be the only one in round 1, or is one of these others we got?
I got to tell you, my heart is like in pain right now because Phoebe's talking about runs of over 50 yards. Well, one of those came against us in the fourth quarter of a game. We're playing Boise and we are playing our tails off. And frankly, we're hitting the dog's snot out of him. Right. And we hit him at the line of scrimmage. He breaks the tackle, outruns the safety, beats the corner 1-on-1, goes 58, and the game's over with. I'll tell you what, I was shocked with Ashton Genty. When he walked out on the field, Neil, he's my size, height. Now, again, I'm saying height, right?
Yeah. That's small.
But he is easy now.
Look
But he is a full-grown man. I mean, he is short, but he is incredibly yoked up.
Could you tell you're watching someone special, Jeff?
No question. No question. No running back who I've been on the field with live could do his contact balance is unbelievable.
In anywhere in NFL Europe as well?
Anywhere. Lawrence Phillips, not close. Now,
wow.
Lawrence
Okay.
Phillips to me was a different back. He was a bigger. You remember how thick and big he was? It looks like it looks like Ashton Genty was Lawrence Phillips and somebody dropped the anvil on his head. And
Hey, I love these comparisons, but that's
like
a
this,
new one.
Neil, I swear to God, when you get up in the morning and you brush your teeth, that's the guy you want looking back at you, not me. You want I mean, he is freaking a specimen. And we hit him a couple times, and he had the unbelievable ability, which I've never seen a back do, to get hit and knock backward, land on his feet, and take off at full speed in 2 steps. I mean, it's unbelievable. The guy is everything he's and like I said, Phoebe hit it right on the head. Character, great kid, leader, everything. He's a clean prospect.
We got Amarian Hampton from North Carolina, Amarian Hampton, Caleb Johnson from Iowa, Travion Henderson from Ohio State. Those are kind of the next 3 you kind of hear about the most. Do you think they could a couple of those could sneak into round 1?
My board was Travion Henderson, Amarian Hampton, and then Cam Scatterbo from Arizona State. But, the thing about Johnson that he's fallen a little bit, Neil, because he did not run a very good time at the combine, right? And I think people look at guys like Quinshan Jenkins from another Ohio State guy who had a great college playoff. But Travion Henderson's got home run hitting ability. Omar Hampton, home run hitting ability. And I think if you're going to take a running back in the first round, you want that kind of running back.
Of course, these running backs need to be having blockers up front. Offensive linemen are people too, Phoebe. I mean, we always look... Because as fans, maybe we get drawn. I mean, we should be better than that as analysts. But as fans, we're like, yay, get me a wide receiver, get me a running back. Yeah, load up on tackles and guards, and you'll have a really good team. The Eagles showed us that. Phoebe, who's the best offensive lineman we should be looking out for?
I think you're probably looking at Will Campbell from LSU. He's looking to go as like the top offensive lineman. Armand Membu. Yeah, Amari Membu right behind him. You're right. I think the Eagles have shown the world that you need to invest in your offensive line. And we've got quite a few offensive linemen in this draft class. And when you've got people that are able to, not just be big bodies, you're able to pass set, you're able to then run block as well, because you need that athletic ability now from our offensive linemen. You've got to be able to get out and cover a DB essentially. And I think we're seeing a lot more of this athleticism, great ability to break down. And ultimately you look at what the biggest issues are we complain about for these rookie quarterbacks is not having a quality offensive line. So I'd say those two are my top 2 at the moment.
Jeff, Will Campbell is a reminder that these guys will get poured over. He was a left tackle for all but 4 of 2,451 snaps. At LSU at left tackle. As soon as he enters the draft process, it's like, his arms might be a bit short. Maybe he should be a guard. I mean, just got to go back. You always say, I can watch the film, right?
That's why exactly what I was going to say. Watch the tape. Wait a second now. I watched all kinds of tape on this guy, and I expected to see a Tyrannosaurus Rex when he came out of the stands with a little bitty arm. The guy, all he does is just maul people. I don't care how long his arms are. They were long enough to go pound on the guy across from him, but that's just the way the process goes. Membo, who Phoebe likes or not, I think is a great pick. He's got maybe the most athleticism of all of these offensive linemen. Campbell's got a nasty streak, and I think you're right. I think if I was predicting Campbell, I'd say he'd go 4th to New England. But Membo is really unique in that I think he would be an incredible guard in the National Football League. And you think about the Cowboys, they need a plug-and-play guy for Zach Martin. I think that's a great fit.
Yeah, he didn't allow a sack on 411 pass blocks in his final season in college football, and that's the name of the game. Not all these, and that's maybe if he does move inside to guard. Drafting a tackle, Phoebe, I feel is becoming more like drafting a quarterback. I feel like you hit on some, you miss on some. I don't know. It just seems I don't have any I don't have a list in front of me, It's just, I think that we see them work, and then sometimes you have to be really patient as well. Why do you think that is?
I mean, there's multiple factors that go into it. You've got, first off, the scheme, the communication. That is, you're now speaking a different language. I think perhaps with the transfer portal and NIL and things like that, it's actually forcing players to play in different schemes and almost in some ways preparing them for an NFL level scheme. But look at who they're going against. You're going against guys like Myles Garrett. You don't want to be going against guys like that. And that physicality, the way that those guys operate, it totally changes what you're looking for in a left tackle. It's hard for a rookie to come in and immediately dominate in that position because of literally TJ Watts and guys like that who are coming to get you.
You know what, Neil? Think about this. The really good tackles now, the left tackles in the NFL, some of those guys are making quarterback money, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think they're under scrutiny that they've never been under scrutiny before. Because the more money you pay a guy, the more you expect. You know, Mekhi Becton, who I was never a big fan of, that, you know, was a first-round pick, struggled at tackle. He goes to Philadelphia. They shove him to guard. He has a great year, right? Signs a huge contract, and you know, it resurrects his career. So much of it is fit and scheme and, you know, just being in the right place with the right coach. And I think it's tough because those guys are on an island and they're against the best player on defense every week.
Right, we are going to wrap up this edition of Inside the Huddle where we focused on the offensive players. Just want to say it is late at night. It's early in the morning in the UK as we record. It's got to be past midnight in Hawaii. Jeff's in his office. Phoebe, you mentioned the transfer portal and NIL. We need to wait till Jeff's asleep before we give him nightmares.
Sorry, John.
Now I got night. Thanks, Phoebes. I'll be having nightmares all night now.
I was going to be checking his emails. Make sure no other kids told him they're off. All right, so we will be back later in the week. Obviously, the draft is coming up Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday evening, all on Sky Sports Action for you. We'll be back later in the week to discuss some of the top defensive prospects. My thanks to Phoebe and Jeff. Until later in the week, Jeff, say goodbye to the good folks.
Aloha.
Go inside the huddle with Sky Sports.